Buried in the shadows of America's history books, an era known to its victims as America's dirty war, a war against its own citizens. It's been 54 years since the FBI launched a covert war against political dissidents, the counterintelligence program, more infamously known by its acronym, COINTELPRO.
All the people don't have freedom, all the people don't have justice, and all the people don't have power, so that means none of us do.
The Black Panther Party, the American Indian Movement, anti-war organizations, even civil rights leaders and Hollywood stars. The list of targets was endless. Fueled by the frenzied paranoia of McCarthyism and the growth of radicalism, the objective of COINTELPRO was simple: undermine and destroy popular movements by any means.
Before there were the WikiLeaks papers or the Pentagon papers, there were the COINTELPRO papers. In the late 1970s, activists broke into the FBI's field office in Pennsylvania, where they stole thousands of documents pertaining to the FBI's program. Almost immediately, a scandal exploded, and top officials from the FBI's National Bureau here in Washington, D.C. were summoned to Capitol Hill for a congressional investigation which exposed the FBI's covert war against political dissidents in the United States.
The truth of the matter is, when you cut through all of the debate and all of the research, you come to the startling realization that the Federal Reserve System is a cartel. It's a cartel, no different really than a sugar cartel or an oil cartel or a bean cartel. Happens to be a banking cartel. And that means that it is private. It means that the big banks of the United States came together in 1913, and they convinced Congress to pass a law that we call the Federal Reserve Act. And this law became the embodiment of the cartel agreement. You see, what cartels do generally is they decide that they don't want to compete with each other. Cartels are made up of different separate companies which on the surface appear to be competitors. And they decide they don't want to compete with each other. They want to improve their profit margins and solidify their position in the marketplace. And so they want to get rid of competition, and they decide they're going to fix prices or divide up product or geography or something like that. And they come to cartel agreements to reduce competition between themselves.
The plutonium was traced back to a piece of bologna in her refrigerator. A week after her contamination, Karen Silkwood was killed in a car crash while on her way to deliver her evidence to a reporter for the New York Times. The manila folder she was carrying was never found. In 1976, the Silkwood defense team commenced a lawsuit against Kerr McGee, asking for damages for her contamination and death. Last May, that trial resulted in a $10.5 million verdict against Kerr McGee.
The jury fined Kerr McGee $10 million, the largest punitive award ever out of a trial court, and for three primary reasons. One, that the company had lied to the workers and to the public about the dangers of plutonium. Two, that it had defrauded the government by producing defective fuel rods. And three, that the security system there was so bad that up to 40 pounds of plutonium, enough for 4 bombs, was either lost or stolen.
Following the end of World War II, many of Germany's top scientists, engineers, and technicians were captured and brought to America as part of a secret project known as Operation Paperclip.
Operation Paperclip was a U.S. government project to bring German scientists to the United States to work either for the military or for industry.
They were taken into custody. They were granted asylum. They were brought to the United States.
The commander of Germany's Peenemünde Space Research Center.
Von Braun was really the developer of the V-1 and the V-2 rocket. He was a member of the Nazi Party. His commanders were SS generals. He was privy to some of the most secret projects that Nazi Germany was developing during the war.
Once in America, von Braun quickly established himself as the leader of the U.S. military's burgeoning rocket program. He would eventually become one of the key architects of NASA.
In fact, the first rockets that the United States was launching out in New Mexico were essentially the V-2 rockets. In fact, I think the only real difference was that we'd taken the swastikas and the Iron Crosses off.
The whole space race almost seems like a joke as I look back on it, because the fact is there wasn't an American rocket program versus a Russian rocket program. We had a German rocket program. We didn't have an American rocket program.